Hello everyone, I'm Greg Otta with FedScoop TV. Welcome to our Cybersecurity Hero Series, and I'm talking with Jonathan Alboum, the CIO of the Department of Agriculture. Jonathan, thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here, thank you.
So can you share with our viewers how you've updated and modernized cybersecurity within the agency?
Yeah, I think, well, thanks very much for asking that question. The improvements around cybersecurity has been a focal point of my tenure as the CIO of USDA.
Okay.
I became the CIO about a year ago, right in the middle of the cyber sprint, and it became the most important thing on the agenda for everybody who works in the USDA IT community. And during that time, we became very focused on making sure we were using PIV cards and that our privileged users, accessed systems with PIV cards. And in a short period of time, we went from a very low percentage of people using PIV cards to over 85%. And now we're in the 90s. So we've begun a real cultural change at USDA in terms of how people interact with that interact with their technology. And we've also been very focused on making sure that people understand the consequences of not being focused on cyber, not having good cyber hygiene. There's been a lot of attention focused on things like phishing and getting people educated about not clicking links and being very open about where we are in certain projects that have an impact on our cybersecurity, so people understand the work we're doing and how it makes USDA secure.
So as agencies look to leverage new technology, how can they push the boundaries when it comes to next generation data security practices? I mean, agencies like the Department of Agriculture have petabytes of data that they put out there.
Yeah,
so.
I think fundamental is understanding your data, right? Even before there's any individual technology, I think it's really critical that we know what our most critical data is, we know where that data is, and we know how we protect it. And as I meet with agencies, I always ask them those questions, and I think we often struggle, with getting agreement within an agency about this is our most important data, because, as you say, we have tons and tons of data, but it's not possible to protect your data if you don't know what it is, you don't know how you prioritize it, you don't know how you protect it today. So I'm really encouraging agency CIOs and agency leaders to become really conversant in those questions, talk about them, think about them, and use those answers to drive the investments you're describing.
So you talked about this a little in the first question, but talk to me about how culture change is such an important part of cybersecurity.
It really is, and we're very fortunate that the Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary Vilsack, is a big supporter of improved cybersecurity. We've established a cybersecurity scorecard within the agency that takes information around things like PIV usage, or how many of our systems have authorities to operate, where we have vulnerabilities on our network, and we share that information for all the agencies, with all the agencies, and with the Secretary's office. And we discuss this information with the Secretary periodically. We share it with all of our undersecretaries once a month, the Deputy Secretary once a month. So there's awareness across USDA about how individual agencies and individual offices are doing when it comes to key cybersecurity metrics. So, and the fact that the Secretary has a real interest in this information and is willing to talk about and have conversations with agencies, it makes a big difference. We talk about having to balance cybersecurity requirements with all of the program requirements that we have across our system, and the Secretary's a real leader here. And with his leadership, it really drives that culture change within USDA, and I know that agency administrators and agency CIOs are now having conversations that in the past they probably wouldn't have had.
Okay. And finally, I know that there is no silver bullet technology-wise that can solve cybersecurity issues, but what type of technology or what paradigm around technology do agencies have to embrace in order to keep their network secure?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is education.
Okay.
Again, not an individual technology, but communication and education around what the risk is, things that we can all do. I think cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. So just as an example, we engaged in a campaign at USDA to try and cut down on people that click on phishing links, as we were talking about. And we found some of the most effective tools were not new technologies we could introduce into the equation, but providing users education, but also putting some very clear warning messages in emails that we think might be suspicious when we look at the content of that
Right.
email. And we did some testing. We saw when we added those links, people were less likely to click on those suspicious emails. So sometimes it's about human behavior as opposed to an individual technology that can make your network more secure.
Great. Well, Jonathan, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate your insight.
Thanks very much.
For FedScoop TV, I'm Greg Otto. Thanks for watching.